They've already won more ground than most people are willing to admit. That's the part no one wants to say out loud. The entities, energy parasites, spiritual predators, whatever name you want to give them, don't operate in shadows anymore. They are the system. They've embedded themselves in everything. Media, politics, finance, religion, entertainment. You name it, and they don't need to hide because most people are too distracted, too drained, or too programmed to even question what's happening around them. This isn't science fiction. It's spiritual warfare, and the battlefield is your mind, your attention, your frequency. They feed on fear, division, and emotional chaos. That's the currency. That's what fuels them. The more stressed, outraged, broken, or numb the population becomes, the more power they gain. And they've designed the world to keep that engine running nonstop, especially politics. That machine isn't broken. It's built to enslave. It's not about representation or progress. It's about control. The illusion of choice keeps people running in circles while the suffering deepens. Policies are crafted not to free people, but to bind them to debt, to fear, to dependency. Suffering is structured. Pain is engineered. And obedience is sold as patriotism. And yet, it's not irreversible. Awareness is the first weapon. Not hope, not love. Awareness. The ability to see the manipulation for what it is and pull your energy back from the cycle. That's where real resistance begins. Most people don't realize that they're bleeding energy from 1,000 tiny wounds. Through their screens, their jobs, their trauma, their distractions. When you finally see it, you start to patch the leaks. You stop being food. Human consciousness isn't static. That's what these forces fear most. One mind breaking the spell can inspire another. A chain reaction, an energetic infection in reverse. And make no mistake, consciousness spreads. When one person wakes up, they disturb the field around them. Others feel it, even if they don't know why. But let's be real, this isn't a fair fight. Power is concentrated in the hands of people who've either sold out or are so thoroughly controlled that they've become conduits for the same parasitic energy. They shape the narrative. They engineer the distractions. And they've figured out how to glamorize despair, sedate resistance, and label truth as insanity. But that doesn't mean all is lost. There's still a fracture in the machine. Some people feel it, an itch beneath the skin, a tension that won't go away. Something is wrong, and deep down they know it. That's the beginning of the shift. They start to ask questions. They start to turn inward. They stop reacting and start observing. And in that moment, they become dangerous. There are still high-frequency beings out there. Not the fluffy kind sold in mass-market spirituality, but real allies, visible and invisible, who know the stakes. Some are human. Some are not. Some have walked this path countless times before in other timelines, other worlds. They're not here to save anyone. They're here to remind you who you are. Because the truth is, you're not powerless. You were never meant to be cattle for emotional predators. You were never meant to be a passive consumer of reality. You are a frequency generator, a sovereign being capable of piercing through the illusion with will alone. The parasites only thrive when you forget that. This isn't about waiting for someone in power to flip the script. Most of them won't. They're too deep in. The real shift won't come from the top. It never does. It comes from the bottom, the ones who've been stepped on, numbed out, lied to, and yet still choose to wake up. This isn't a story with a savior. It's a call to arms. Spiritually, energetically, psychically. Because if you're reading this and feeling it, then you're not asleep. And if you're not asleep, then you're responsible for what happens next. The time for soft metaphors and spiritual bedtime stories is over. This is the age of energetic reclamation. The tide doesn't turn with prayers alone. It turns when enough people take their consciousness back and say, "No more."